Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. Today I went book shopping. Welcome to my biggest haul yet. Stay tuned. Okay everyone, so what I did is I went to my second-hand store that most of you know about, that I've spoken about, and I decided to splash out once again. I just couldn't help it, I couldn't resist, and I think most of you know the feeling. And I actually ended up buying about 30 books, all horror, actually one or two thrillers and maybe a science fiction in there, and I spent about 600 Rand. Now, just to let you know what 600 Rand is, it equates to about $30. And if I were shopping up the road in our shopping complex, there's a different bookstore there that sells mainly new books. And sometimes one book will cost me about 250, 300 Rand. So 600 Rand for 30 books, and most of them are in pretty good condition. I'm excited, and I think I'm only going to show off about 20 this time because otherwise this video is just going to carry on a little bit too long. So yeah, sit tight and enjoy. Okay, let's start off with a horror classic. In fact, the first two are horror classics. Now, I did not realize that I had this book already. I had it in hardcover, William Peter Blatty, The Exorcist. Now, I spoke about this the other day when I talked about my classic horrors, but I found a paperback. And I'm actually quite glad now I've got both. It's not The Exorcist, it's Legion. So this is the second part of Exorcist. Apparently it's not quite as good. I know that I gave The Exorcist 5 stars, I think. And this has got mixed reviews. I think it's about a homicide detective who goes out looking for a killer. There's basically a whole lot of people get killed. It's a serial killer thing. Yeah, I might enjoy it, but it sounds very, very different to the original Exorcist. But yeah, I love the cover with the flame, and with the candle and with the eyes. It's very, very cool. Okay, next up we have another horror classic. I'm going to try not to introduce and cut this video too many times. That was just our Layla coming and lying on the bed, so let's just try and see if we can just get through this without any more editing. But this one is Ira Levin, Rosemary's Baby. Now, I didn't mention this during my classics because the first time I read it when I was much younger, I think I only gave it 3 stars. But yeah, it is actually a phenomenal novel, and obviously a horror classic. But I'll just take a look at this cover and some of the details inside the pram. It looks like a pram from hell. I think there's a little tiny hand coming up. There's also an upside down cross hanging from the roof of the pram. So I love the details of this particular book, even though it's not in very good condition. And I'm sure to give it another try at some stage. That is Rosemary's Baby. Now, just to let you all know that most of these books are going to be vintage horror, kind of paperbacks from hell. And then I'm going to finish off with a couple of thrillers and a couple of more well-known horror authors that I found. The next one is a very awesome cover, and it's Ramsey Campbell, Tales of Sex and Death, Scared Stiff. Now this would have been a very, very good cover for Garb August. Pity that I didn't actually pick this book to read. Yeah, it's kind of risque, the screaming face on a naked woman, so I could have used that for 1 or 2 prompts as well. That is Scared Stiff. Next up we have Rex Miller, Frenzy, and obviously he goes on a killing frenzy. Now if this is anything like the first book that I read by him, I don't think I got through the whole book, to be honest. I put it down. I didn't actually DNF it. I just never picked it up again, and that is Slob. Now, I had the book somewhere, I looked around, I couldn't find it. It is a truly gruesome cover, but I did display it in one of my earlier videos, so if you want to check it out, it is a very disgusting cover. There's this big fat face, green face, and it's about this big guy that goes on a killing spree, and he basically rips these people apart. And I have a feeling that this is going to be very, very similar. And from the back, yeah, it's the woman that's going to go downhill on a roller coaster. Poor pretty Tiffany, too young to love, but not too young to die. Very, very slowly. So yeah, this looks like just a messed up book, just like the first one, and I'm definitely going to get to it at some stage. That's Stranzy. Okay, next up we have an author I've never heard of before, called Charles Valey, Children of the Dark. How's this? Eyes are lighted up from within. Now, they are children just like your own, except for one murderous moment when they become children of the dark. So apparently they look normal, but at any time they can just turn on you. It says here the city shivers on the brink of unspeakable and timeless terror. So this is looking very, very interesting. And the supernatural horror of Carrie, the medical suspense of coma, in one devastating multiple shock thriller. Children of the Dark. Okay, next up. Now, there's only one book that I've read by this author, and I've reviewed it on this channel, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved the cover, and that is Sean Hudson's Slugs. So if you haven't seen the earlier video, one of my earlier book hauls, this was one of the books. I found another from him, and this is also pretty damn awesome. This is Sean Hudson, Death Day. Now you can see that hand, half human, half skeleton, holding up an amulet, and it obviously looks like an evil amulet because you see this figure of a kind of a devil or Satan in the middle with all these strange hieroglyphics around the amulet. And it's actually here, it's called a golden disc. Beware the golden disc, it brings decay, destruction, death. So yeah, it sounds a little bit corny, but I really love slugs. They were really funny and really scary and pretty well written. So I'm going to explore more Sean Hudson in the future. Yeah, that is Death Day. Right, what have you got next? This is another awesome cover. It actually looks like a face is breaking out of a plaster cast. It's kind of freaky, and it's called Phobia. And I'm not sure if it's a screenplay or something, or based on a movie or something, maybe a novelization, because there's no author in the front here, but it's just called Phobia. Now, yeah, apparently on the side the author is Thomas Luke, so that looks very, very interesting. Prepare to face the thing that you fear the most. Oh yes, I kind of looked at the back here very quickly. I think these criminals are become like guinea pigs. Basically this experiment of how to cure phobias. And each of these criminals have different phobias. I think there's a fear of crowds, of animals, of enclosed spaces, and of heights. And each of them begins to die off one at a time. So this looks like fun. But obviously it's sort of a movie, or made for a movie. But I'm going to pick this up at some stage. That's Phobia. Okay, this is my favorite cover. I don't know how they got away with this. It's called Cannibals. And really this is pretty sick. But it's pretty awesome. And considering I've just read Off-Season, I don't think this will compare to Off-Season, but man oh man, this cover, Cannibals by Guy N. Smith, that is truly disgusting. And it's basically a peaceful holiday becomes a nightmare struggle for survival, where, let me guess, man-eating cannibals on the loose. that must be the case. And they're mutated and they're inbred. And yeah, they are going to feed and eat these people on holiday. That is cannibals. This is probably my favorite cover that I've ever found. I don't know the artist, but my word, that's disgusting. Okay. Next up we have, now this is the author of a book that I reviewed earlier on in the year that I really loved, and that was Necroscope by Brian Lumley. I'm looking for other books in the series. It's an awesome book about a necromancer and a necroscope that kind of do battle. And this is called Hero of Dreams. Oh, the state of this cover. You see, the problem what they do is they put the stickers with the cost on in the front of the cover. So then if you want to make the cover clean, you have to actually get the bloody thing off. And unfortunately I try to do this for the top, and look at that. So yeah, it's a pretty poor way of doing it. And of course it shows library on the bottom here as well. But hey, $1, less than $1. Can't really complain, can I? So that is Hero of Dreams. From what I read in the back, kind of means that when they're sleeping, they get drawn into this kind of fantasy world where there are heroes and there are villains, and there's thrills and there's danger, and they get more and more drawn into this world as opposed to the normal mundane world we live in. So that's all I really know about this book, but it looks interesting. Next up, a novelization, or no, a novella of Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't know who came up with this idea. This is how thick it is. But here we have Bram Stoker Dracula. It's all over 124 pages long, and it's divided into chapters. The Journey to Castle Dracula, Inside the Castle, the First of the Vampires. So obviously they've simplified the text. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this. Maybe it might be fun. And next up, I told you we had a lot of books. Next up we have a little sci-fi cover, and it is Peter Tremorne tearing, rending everything in their path. The ants are coming. Okay, now this is set in the Brazilian jungles. I think there's an anthropologist and his daughter, and guess what? They're killer ants devouring everything in their path. Now this is not so far from the truth in terms of there's a type of ant called army ants that live in Africa that also devour everything in their path, and anything unlucky enough to get in their way, they swarm and they can kill even humans. So yeah, I'm sure this took some kind of cognizance of that, but ants. Right, next up we have an author that I really enjoy. I've read 2 of his books. I've also reviewed one of them earlier on in the year, and that was Michael Slade, Ghoul. And I've also got Headhunter, which is a cover with just his head sticking on a spike with blood. Delightful. This is Ripper. So I'm actually going to look to find more in Michael Slade. There's actually a Canadian group of authors. I think they're sort of experts in criminal forensics or whatever, but they kind of gang together to make up Michael Slade. So this looks really interesting. I have no idea what it's about at the back. It says here, Jack the Ripper is dead, right? Don't bet your life on it. Yeah, that's all I'm really going to talk about the back. It's obviously a slasher, and I know from the other novels it's a whole criminal investigation, sort of down to a T. They really go into the details of what happens during a crime. That's just what Michael Slade is all about, in terms of from the moment of death to the forensics. Everything is kind of laid out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this at some stage. That's Ripper. Right, let's get to the next pile. We're about halfway there. Next up we have Charles L. Grant, In a Dark Dream. Something bad is coming. Something bad. Something very bad is coming. Now, I love the way this knife is piercing the skull with the glowing eyes. I haven't read much Charles L. Grant. I believe he's quite popular. Once again, look at the quality of this book. Hey, but at least I own it. It says here, something bad coming, something bad. She huddled, shivering and sobbing against her father. Something bad. The nightmare she could barely explain. So it's twisted, evil, tracking and sniffing its way towards them. Slithering out of imagination into reality. So maybe it's in her dreams and then becomes reality. In a dark realm. Oh, in a dark dream. Okay, now the next two covers you've seen before. But these are two favorites of mine. And for those that have not seen my earlier book haul videos, I just want to show them off again quickly before I move to some other Stephen King, Dean Koontz sort of stuff. And the first one is just spectacular. And that is The Doll Who Ate His Mother. Now this is just, it's like this doll with this evil face crawling out of, I don't know what that is, it's a round circle like a manhole or something, or there's blood there. I have no idea what that is, but it is as creepy as hell. And yeah, one of my favourite covers of all time. And the other one, Clive Barker, Books of Blood. Now, you just have to go on the internet, you have to type in Books of Blood, and you'll see what this man is capable of. All the artists are capable of in terms of Books of Blood. This is just depraved. And this is just one of many. I mean, that guy's skull's been ripped open. I think I have shown this a couple of times. So, yeah, one more time's not going to hurt. Okay, now, my viewers, when I did my Dean Koontz video, my collection of Dean Koontz, my viewers basically said to me, they recommended to me some of Dean Koontz's early work, and I've taken note of it. And in particular, two viewers, two of my subscribers, recommended these two books, and I managed to find them. The first is Dean Koontz's Demon Seed. Now, I absolutely love the idea of this kind of, and this is the premise basically, I think. It's an artificial intelligence, so it's this like computer that comes to life and shuts this woman off in her house so she cannot escape and tries to impregnate her. How's that for sort of a premise of a story? And I suppose that's where the seed comes in. So I'm definitely going to read one of these two. And please let me know in the comments below which one you think I should read next month, and I'll read it. First of all, Demon Seed. Second of all, and this maybe is not as early, Dean Koontz Velocity. Now, I just want to read the front here. It says, "If you don't take this note to the police, I will kill a lovely blonde school teacher somewhere in an upper country. If you do take this note to the police, I will instead kill an elderly woman. You have 6 hours to decide." Now, apparently what happens with this is that it just keeps going out of control. So that every time he follows orders, it just gets more and more intense, and the demands get more and more ridiculous. And yeah, this sounds like quite a thriller to me, but quite a wild ride. So you need to let me know, should I read Demon Seed or Velocity? Okay, we're nearly there, people. Next up, now every month I'm trying to read a Stephen King. Of course, I don't have all of his work. I think I've got about 50 books of him in my collection, but he's written a hell of a lot more than that. Actually, not even that. I think I've got about 30 to 40 books. So I'm trying to get hold of books that I have not read yet, so every month I can catch up and eventually finish all his body of work. So I found, and this is not necessarily the best the best book rather, but this is From a Bake 8. I have no idea what it's about. from the cover or from the title, looks like maybe it's something to do with sort of like Christine, like. But you can let me know in the comments below. But yeah, I'm going to get to this sooner rather than later. Right, we've got 2 books left. Now, first of all, as I've been watching booktube, I've noticed that this book is very popular. It's not always rated very highly, but I've seen this title come up again and again. So I'm very happy to get myself a copy. It's also a best-selling movie, and that is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I also very much like the premise that this wife dies. As far as I know, this married couple, the wife dies. Oh no, she disappears. And where the hell is she, basically? And people are blaming the husband, but there's all sorts of catches and twists and turns involved. And that's why it says there's 2 sides to every story. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. It looks more like a thriller, but I think it's quite an intense thriller. And yeah, so it's going to be fantastic. And finally, I've got Cormac McCarthy, The Road. Now, as far as I know, this is a post-apocalyptic thriller or horror, and it's very, very intense. It says here it's featured on Oprah's book club. Okay, fair enough. And it's won prizes, and I think it's about a father and a child, I'm not sure. A father and his young son walk alone through burned America, heading slowly for the coast. Nothing moves in the ravaged landscape, save the ash on the wind. They have nothing but a pistol to defend themselves against the men who stalk the road, the clothes they are wearing, a cart of scavenged food, and each other. So this sounds like my kind of novel. I love post-apocalyptic horror, and this sounds like a real survival horror kind of thing, where they are up against other men in this barren landscape, this blasted land. And I'm not sure if it involves supernatural creatures, but yeah, I've heard about this book. I'm very happy to find it. Okay everyone, that's my little book haul, or my not so little book haul. I hope you enjoyed that. Tell me which ones of those you've read, which ones you'd recommend, so that I can actually plan my TBR for next month a little bit. And please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers.